Alrighty then, here we go.
You like this, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. So welcome back to another episode of the Unframe of Mind show, where we're having uncomfortable conversations without a condom. We're your place for highbrow ideas and lowbrow packaging. Stay tuned for our 9/11 Remembrance special and some call-ins from you guys if you're down. So here it comes.
You're listening to the Unframe of Mind show, the place to have the most mind-stretching, unprotected, intellectual intercourse of your life. Your hosts battle the forces of evil by lobbing fiery balls of truth, reason, and evidence over safe room walls.
And welcome back to the Unframe of Mind show, y'all. Be sure to share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll get started here in just a moment. Give people a chance to roll in. I'm your host, Daniel Wagner.
Anthony Treywick.
All right, and we can tell we got a brand new fancy mic over here for Mr. Treywick.
Really showcases that deep voice.
So I upped all of the bass across the board just to make it just that much more crisp and clear.
Not that you had to.
Sounds amazing.
It does.
Dusty Bogan says, "Good day, boys. What's going on?" from our Australian friend.
Yeah, welcome, guys.
All right, we got my brother Derp Pupper in the chats tonight. Let's try to keep it PG-13, folks. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
he can handle it.
You know, it's funny. We did this show last year on 9/11, back when we actually had the show on Wednesdays,
yeah. Just so happened to fall. But, I mean, it's fine because, you know, gives us a chance to really tell our stories, I hope. And listen, if you guys want to come on the show and tell your stories in the chats on our voice channel on the Discord server, the link is in the description on the show. So be sure to click that and join us there.
Yeah.
I should bring that up so we have it, but I'll bring it up when it's time, so that way there's no like interruptions and people talking ahead of time. I will have to figure out how to make that work appropriately for what we need it for, but I'd be glad to hear you guys' stories about, you know, on 9/11, where were you?
Yeah.
What happened? You know, what were your thoughts? Did you think we were all going to die? Did you think the world was over? Did you think it was, you know, 2020 coronavirus, but not?
Yeah.
So. And again, as I stated in the, and Anthony has stated plenty of times, we really appreciate you guys taking the day to just post only 9/11 remembrance type things. You know, we can argue about the specifics of 9/11 any other day of the year, but you know, for just at least this one day, we just asked everybody. Yeah. So that being said, I think what do you say we go ahead and get started with something a little fun to lighten the mood for a minute while everybody gets a chance to move on over the Discord or whatnot. What do you say?
Oh, yeah, that sounds good. We're going to get into more of the 9/11 specifics later in the show, but yeah, let's have a little light fun.
So this this was something that I just would have hit on this week. Somebody in the Facebook Unframe Minds group posted this particular story. A local person from Donaldson, which is, you know, if you know the area, it's around the Nashville area.
Yeah.
And let me bring up this. I want y'all to see this.
This will be good.
This is great. And then the goal for us tonight. I have not practiced this, and neither has Anthony, but we tried reading it, and most people have tried reading it. This is the lady in question here, but Heather, I'm not sure what color Heather is.
I don't think we should have her name on there.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Oh well. We'll edit it out later. Sorry, Heather. Look, if you're going to talk like this on the internet.
I don't think it really is going to matter.
So here's what I'm going to you want to try reading it first?
You want me to attempt to read this?
I don't think anybody can read this with a straight face.
I'm going to have to get a character for this one. Okay.
So this was off a Facebook post by somebody in our Unframe Minds group, and this is what it says. All right. Is it big enough? Can you read it?
Yeah, I can read it, but it's like I'm trying to figure out.
No, don't think about it. Just read it.
Okay.
Just read it as it is.
Anyone know this hoe named what does that say?
Trina.
Trina.
You mean make it a little bigger?
This ratchet has hoe done stole my son. Go back up. Okay.
I can't make it bigger.
Okay. Stole my son's PlayStation.
There it goes.
And pawned it off for money. A buy she asked for Loco and Adderall off a Tuggy. Has anyone seen? She asked. she asked no that I'm fitting to beat her with the sock filled with nickels. Till she ass ain't fitting to walk right. Oh, yeah, damn dumb ho. Have the coronavirus.
Oh my God.
To beat motherfuckers is out.
Well, that was pretty good.
I can't.
I was feeling that. I felt like I could feel the anger, and I could feel the iambic pentameter, the Shakespearean little prose and whatnot. I could feel it. It was all in there.
I kind of want to go onto her page now and read what other stuff she's got.
I don't know, but if she's if she's one person you do not want to piss off.
No.
Yeah.
Especially
Definitely.
over a PlayStation.
Yeah. Okay, so come on, click over. So here we go. I'm gonna give it a shot.
Okay, this will be good.
All right. Anyone know this hoe named Trina? This ratchet ass hoe done stole mine son PlayStation and pawned it off for money a buy she asked for Loco and Adderall off a Tuggy. Is anyone seen she asked let she ask know that I finna beat her with a sock filled with nickels till she ass ain't finna walk right. Oh, ya da dumb hoe have the coronavirus to beat my fuckers I is oat. I got it.
And people wonder why I don't like people. And I can't, man. It's almost impossible.
Bridget from Facebook says legitimately had students in pre-K who wrote better.
Wow.
Look, don't judge this lady. She wrote in perfect Ebonics.
Yeah.
I know she did. All of that was completely understandable to somebody somewhere. It is interesting, though, because you start thinking about this stuff, and it's like, this is how different languages are developed. You get these different dialects.
I mean, it's almost Pig Latin.
It's like the different dialects get so far apart from one another that it starts to become literally another language that anybody who speaks the original King's English, Queen's English, King's English, can't understand
whoever.
it. Cannot understand
it. All right,
Holy
let's
crap.
move on from that.
So, but I did want to say, Trina, look the hell out. There is a sock full of nickels coming your way. if anybody. And the first thing I thought, honestly, is this is why we shouldn't be letting people fucking vote. She gets a vote too.
I can't imagine they even know how to vote or even how to register to vote.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
So, I can read Section 8 Hood Gangsta, says Carrie Tybalt. Section 8 Hood Gangsta. Is that the specific dialect we're looking at today?
That sounds like it.
All right, so
all right, let's
right.
let's bring it down.
All right, I got you.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's going to get a little deep, a little heavy. I know.
Maybe. It's been 19 years now.
Yeah.
And you kind of think about where we were then versus where we're at now, and you kind of look at the vast differences between the two.
Yeah.
And I before we get started, I do want to read this here. I think this is okay. If anybody finds this impactful, this is the same speech that I read last year for the show, and I remember last year being really, really nervous about it, but I've rewritten it, and I think it comes off a little bit better, and I hope you guys can find some value in it. So let me throw that your way, and this time I'm just gonna look at my damn paper. Y'all can suck it. I'm not looking at you in the camera. That's part of what it was. Is I tried to look in the camera last year, but anyway, no, that being said, let's go. Let's see what we got here. See what you guys think about this. And this is a letter to 9/11. So, dear 9/11, we can still remember when you were born like it was yesterday. We've spent your entire life trying to figure you out. We've reflected on you for years, and now you're all grown up. We named you so that everyone would always remember your birthday, but few ever bother to ask why you even entered this world. People spent years of their lives talking about you. Some said the most terrible things about you. Some celebrated you. Some even said you weren't real. On the day of your birth, it brought tears to our eyes, and it also opened them to the possibilities of a brand new world in which we were brought closer together by patriotism and fear. The day of your birth, because of you, we became closer. That much is true. But we didn't grow closer because we loved you. Rather, we became closer because we shared in our fear of you, our uncertainty of you, our hatred of you, and our burning lust for vengeance because of you. Depending on where one stood, you were either beautiful or disastrous. You taught us how to cherry-pick the worst parts of each other's religious texts, Christian and Muslim alike. You taught us how to oversimplify two worlds more complex than anyone could ever imagine. Eventually, you taught us a valuable but unlearned lesson about the pitfalls of revenge and ignorance. You become a symbol of hatred between two wildly different cultures who previously knew next to nothing about one another, a false dichotomy that made it easy to dehumanize and demonize the other, a catastrophic wedge that made it easy to forget there are good people, evil people, angels and demons on both sides. You made it easy to forget that everyone experiences struggle, strife, hope, humanity. You made it easy to forget there are people in all cultures capable of loving and hating, sinning and sainting. We're told every year on your birthday that we should never forget. Personally, I will never forget, burned in my mind, the 3,000 plus victims that died the day you were born. I will also never forget the price of vengeance that has accumulated since. On this day, let us remember the nearly 7,000 U.S. soldiers who gave their lives, the 480,000 Iraqis, Afghanis, and Pakistanis, the majority of which were civilians, nor the estimated millions who have lost their lives as the result of disease, displacement, and loss of critical infrastructure. Hashtag never forget those who died in the name of vengeance and patriotism and fear, all in the name of seeking justice which was never found. Happy birthday, 9/11. Look how much you've grown. All right. Yeah. All right. So, you didn't really have a chance last year to tell your story about where you were, what your thoughts were, that kind of thing. Let me open it up to you just to start, and then I will bring up anybody else that wants to tell their story as well.
Yeah, so it was crazy. I'd worked for Big Lots, during that time, and I was over the stock department. So I was going into work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I can remember it like it was yesterday, man. Just basically coming out of the stock area, out on the floor, and I made my way over to the other side, which happened to be where the break room was. And at this time, Tower 1 was already hit, and two of the employees that were in the break room were just screaming. Like, I mean, it almost sounded like a murder scene just took place in the break room. So I kind of picked up my pace and walked back there, and I kind of stuck my head in, and I said, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on?" And they're just like, "Look, something's happening in New York," and they couldn't, it was just, it almost seemed like everything was just, it happened so quickly.
Yeah.
You couldn't figure out what was going on. You didn't know if it was a terrorist attack. You didn't know if it was an accident. Just nobody knew anything. And I just remember standing there just watching, and then just seeing the smoke just kind of just coming out of the building, dude. And then all of a sudden, Tower 2's hit. And then that's when it clicked. It was like, this is not an accident.
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go as far as to say that this is war on us, or that this was a terrorist attack. To me, it was the first thing that came to my mind, Pearl Harbor. I don't know why, but I guess because I'm such a history buff, and I love learning about Pearl Harbor and everything that happened during that time frame. I guess that's one of the reasons why it just kind of stuck in my mind for whatever reason.
Kind of had some similarities to
that
historical event.
It did, and that was the first thing I thought of. I thought, man, this is a modern day, Pearl Harbor. I'm watching this. I'm seeing this. Like, throughout my life, I'm thinking, and for most of us, we've never seen anything this horrific. We've never witnessed anything of this magnitude.
And haven't seen it since.
No, we haven't. And so for me, it was just like, you kind of get that chill over you, like, holy shit, this is really happening. It almost seemed like tomorrow just didn't even seem to, it seems like tomorrow just kind of didn't even enter my mind, like what's going to happen tomorrow. It was just the here and now. It was just, watching the buildings burn like everybody else, and you're seeing people falling out of the towers and jumping because they don't, for whatever the reasons. But it's just like you can't describe it. You can't put it into words. I mean, I don't know, man. It was just an eerie feeling.
So you said it reminded you like Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
Did the Who ever cross your mind? Like, did you think it was also the same people that did
No.
Pearl Harbor, or were you still kind of going, okay,
I think
somebody's...
I think this was more of it caught me off guard, kind of like Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor wasn't expected to get bombed.
Did like a Middle Eastern or Muslim angle even cross your mind then? Because I know it didn't for me, because, I'm pretty, at the time, I was pretty... Sorry, I know I just asked you a question, then went on to...
No,
Sorry.
it just race, ethnicity, or I can't speak. I need some water. None of that stuff ever crossed my mind, and I'm trying to find my words here because for some it's difficult because I indirectly. I mean, I had a buddy of mine that I worked with over at Old Castle Precast back when I got out of high school.
Yeah,
and he's from New York. Okay, this is one of the reasons why this whole thing is kind of a little sensitive to me, but his name was Frankie, and Frankie was from New York, and his dad was in one of the towers, and ended up now I didn't know his dad. I knew Frankie only because we worked together. Things didn't pan out for Frankie here in Nashville because he was really wanting to make the move. However, the times that I knew him or the times that we've had discussions was about the fact that he couldn't afford the cost of living up in New York, and he was trying to find somewhere else to go to live that was more affordable.
Right.
So he made the transition to Nashville, didn't work out, moved back to New York. It wasn't until many weeks later, because you got to think back in 2001, we didn't have social media.
right.
We didn't have any of this stuff. So for me, I get this random phone call from Frankie, and, I was just like, hey, man, everything good up there? I hadn't heard from you. And we just kind of, got to chit-chatting back and forth. It wasn't until the conversation was brought up about 9/11 that he said, yeah, man, he goes, look, I just want to tell you that my dad was, he perished in 9/11. And I just, what? It's like.
Didn't even seem real.
No. And then he kind of described everything to me as far as what had happened, and and of course I didn't hear from for many weeks because of everything that they were going through with their family, and I dude, it's like I didn't know his dad, but because I knew him, it was that connection
That little,
to 9/11 a little bit,
1 degree of separation.
right?
Yeah.
So So I learned back when I worked for Big Lots in the stock department. I kind of got off subject with that, but going back to the Pearl Harbor reference, I mean, no, I didn't have any distinct notion or thought process of what religion, what ideology, or nothing. I mean, I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Never crossed my mind.
It didn't for me either.
Just, I think
it's like planes hitting the building. Who could do this? That was my question. Who the hell's doing this? And I was still in high school, so and I wasn't really yet into, say, politics and world events and current affairs and things like that. So I didn't know any of this, what was going on. I couldn't even have taken a guess at, like, as far as I knew, we were, USA, America #1, and nobody would want to do anything to us. We're like the promised land. Everybody wants to come to America, that's
I will say that, leading up to 9/11, you always felt like you lived in the safest country in the world. You always felt like you were invincible.
untouchable.
Better word to use.
Invincible, untouchable. Yeah, I get you.
You always felt that way. And then it's what transpired after 9/11 that really kind of set the catalyst to what would be the things to come when it came to other friends of mine that eventually ended up joining the military because of 9/11.
Because of it, yeah.
And one particular friend of mine, I had 3 buddies that went over. One I lost over in Iraq, and then another one recently is now serving life in prison for murder. And, that's a story for a whole nother day. But what I will tell you is that when my 2 buddies came home, their thought process and their mental state was so far gone.
Yeah.
The things and shit that they were seeing was just not anything that you would ever imagine possible. I mean, I remember a buddy of mine that I've known since I was 2 years old telling me that, he was one of the first units to actually go into Iraq, and, and he just telling me that, they go order I get these steel frame bridges, and there's bodies that are hung from these bridges.
Yeah.
And you smell, human remains. I mean, and in the desert, that's 100 and something degrees, and it's just all the things that they had to see and witness because of all this, because of 9/11. I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I'm not going to get into we shouldn't have been there or whatever. They signed up because they felt compelled and inspired to protect their country, to protect their fellow, man.
Right.
They wanted to do a good service, to their country. And I love that, because it really kind of showed the human, or not the human spirit, but the American spirit through and through. And what's ironic about this is that when you look back to 2001 and all this happened, the very next day it went, okay, so you had over 3,000 people the night before. You had, parents, dads, moms, brothers, sisters, grandparents. Everybody was doing their typical thing, making dinners, getting ready for bed. Some of them were getting ready to, catch their flight the next day. And the next day, it was just, everything just crashed. No pun intended. That was poor choice of words. Everything just kind of came to a complete abrupt halt. And, for me, it was September 12th. And I remember it was like, you couldn't find an American flag to save your life on any store.
Yeah.
You couldn't. Nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
The patriotism of this country was at the highest that I had ever seen it.
So 2001 American flags were 2020's toilet paper.
Pretty much, yeah. So, I mean, it was just the camaraderie that you had amongst each other. It didn't matter if you were black, if you were white. None of this shit mattered.
Yeah, we were all American.
We, for the first time in my adult life, saw what true unity as a people looked like. And it was the most beautiful, patriotic, iconic thing. And, I tell people, it was just, it was the most beautiful disaster that had ever happened. And you saw cops, you saw first responders, you saw firefighters. They ran to that shit. They ran into the depths of hell to save people, not knowing what the outcome was going to be. Nobody knew.
It takes a special kind of person. It really does.
If people want to understand why I do what I do as far as community service, and why I support the police and the firefighters all the way up until this day, is because I have tremendous respect for those individuals that, without any thought process, put themselves in harm's way or do things to protect our citizens without giving it a second thought. Like that's what's missing right now in this world is that sense of understanding that these people, when they wake up every single day, that's their job. They don't want to hurt people. They don't want to kill people. They don't want to have to do the things that they do. They just want to protect the good in the world and eradicate the evil that's in it. That's what I firmly believe. And we forgot about them. We forgot about them.
Well, a lot of people have, for sure. A lot of people have. I don't want to throw this giant blanket generalization over everybody, because there's at least half this country that is like all about the back in the blue, the thin blue line, police lives matter, and that kind of thing, that mentality. And I think that's where that comes from. But it also is sad that there is a certain segment of our population that has gotten so far behind the eight ball here that they can't see it anymore. In their mind, the police are a bunch of racist enemies. That's all they are. They're just out to kill people, and that's just not the case. It's never been the case.
No, it's
And you mentioned earlier about all these men and women joining the military. I wanted to grab this before I forgot about it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of of a mixed feeling about it because yes, the patriotism, the desire and the need to defend your homeland, those are beautiful things. Those are absolutely necessary in any society.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I'm also pissed off that spirit was completely taken advantage of in the meantime. Like,
it was dismantled.
just
I know.
taking that patriotism and that power and that pride and pointing it toward whatever the hell the elites want. It's like, I
don't want to get into that because
that's where I'm at on it. I just hate that it was wasted patriotism is what I'm getting at, and it's the kind of why I'm kind of bittersweet about that particular aspect of it. And I agree with you; it is a beautiful thing.
I
that
guess
spirit that people have.
When you bury when you bury enough friends, you look past it. You don't want to. I know it has to be talked about, and I know that on the other side of the coin of this, it's like, you get the argument that we shouldn't have been there, and all this other stuff, and it was for all the wrong reasons, this, that, and the other.
Sure.
But when you get tired of seeing those go through the mental just the mental mind fuck that they went through with going over there, and then when you have to see your friends get buried because they purposely signed up because they wanted to defend what they thought was their civic duty to serve. That's all they wanted to do. They wanted to protect us. It wasn't for the money. It wasn't for any of that shit. It was in your heart. It's in your blood. It's what you bled, and they bled it. They gave it the ultimate sacrifice.
All right. Well, I'm going to take a moment here. We've got a number of comments coming in about where you guys were.
Yeah.
If you guys want to come on and actually treat it like a call-in show, feel free to head over to our Discord channel. It's in the links below.
Yep.
I see somebody already in the chat, so I will get to that in just a moment. Let me get these here. I don't want to miss. Okay, so here we go. Carrie says, I'm bringing 9/11 to my 13-year-old as we speak. She is at the point where the second tower has fallen. She is emotional when she saw the people jumping from the buildings to their deaths. I've never got this teenager to sit through anything. She says she was a senior in high school. Leanne says, hi, Leanne. Naomi says from Facebook, she says, I was 19 and working at a call center that was selling newspapers and called a woman that lived in New York City asking if she would like to subscribe. And she said, do you not know what's going on? I said, no, I don't. She said, a plane hit the World Trade Center and then hung up. I immediately told my supervisor, and he turned on the TV, and we watched it until the second plane hit, and we're all sent home. I watched it all day that day. I was so saddened by the fact that I saw people jumping out of the buildings and then watched both towers collapse. I was changed from that day on. Yeah, great story. There was a post that I saw today in our group that brought up the point that I had never even considered, is that yes, a lot of people might have been jumping to try to get that last breath of air, whatever the reasons were, like you said. But the idea that in the smoke and in the chaos that some people were accidentally pushed out the window because the people behind them couldn't see them, and just that possibility crossed my mind. I'm like, good Lord, can you? I can't even imagine. Like, I'm terrified. I'm freaked out. I'm right here catching a half a breath of fresh air, and next thing I know,
Well, there's just so many elements to what happened that day,
a lot,
and there was so much chaos that took place, and it was just a very dark moment, probably if not one of the darkest moments in our American history.
All right, so we got Kat Wilson says, I was. This is from Facebook. She says, I was getting ready to take my 6-month-old son to his grandma so I could go to class. I almost dropped him when I saw the second plane hit. I drove out to my mom's in total shock. It didn't feel real.
I'm a blubbery mess over here, man. I can't even think straight. Can't even talk right.
Do you need a tissue, homie?
No, I'm good. I get a little choked up, man. It's only because
that's why we love you, man.
Some of the situations hit really close to home, and then other situations you become more sympathetic. because you know, you've seen some things that maybe most haven't, but then the ones that understand what you're going through or what you feel, they can relate. And I've had these conversations with people over the years about 9/11,
Yeah.
and you know, like I said, I mean, when you start to bury your friends because they legitimately joined the military for the sole purpose of the American spirit, and then, you know, like I said, they ultimately gave the biggest sacrifice. You know, it's
Right. Yeah, we
You
definitely
can't-
don't want to minimize
they
that.
paid
at
it in
all.
blood. You know, I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around.
All right. My mom hugs you.
Hi,
She's
Mom.
giving you a hug. digital hug over the internet. So
Right.
let me read one more of these here, and then we'll get head over to the Discord chat. So it looks like I got a couple people in there.
Okay.
Jason from Facebook, he says, I was 22, living in Daytona Beach, Florida at the time, and we had a TV in our office, and it was customary to turn on the news to hear the news of the day. Only 9 days prior to September 2nd, I was actually at the World Trade Center with my cousin and grandmother on the observation deck on vacation. I returned home on 9/10 and went into work. My boss came and joked with me when the first plane hit that I made it back just in time. I asked why, and he told me to look at the TV. At first, we thought it was just a small aircraft that hit the tower, and I was shocked. We could do nothing but stare at the TV, and then the second plane hit. The shock quickly turned to desperation and anger because we knew this was deliberate and we were under attack. There was no explanation as to how it could be possible. It was like watching something from a Stephen King novel. He says it still hurts 19 years later. That was
Yeah.
Gen Xer's Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So let me head over.
Yeah. Let's take some calls.
All right. So I think Turtle Girly from Discord, that's our friend Becky, was in there first. Let me unmute you here. And let's hear what you have to say, Miss Turtle Girly. Welcome to the show.
Hi guys.
Hey, what's going on? So what kind of story you got for us? Where were you at? What happened?
I was still living in California. I was really young. I was working like one of my first jobs, and I worked for Ralph's, which is the equivalent of Kroger out here. And I was just scanning groceries and went to work. I had the 6 to 3 in the morning shift until, the afternoon. And I had no idea what was going on. It was a situation where like we were just business as usual. And people started walking in and being like, have you guys heard what's going on? Have you heard what's going on? And we're like, no, like we're at work. And she's like, someone just ran a plane into the World Trade Center. And so the manager at the time went up into the storage area and pulled down the TV and plugged it in. And sure enough, we witnessed the second plane hitting the other tower. For me, my mind also went the Pearl Harbor way, simply because it's a situation where this was the first attack on American soil in how many years? And then all of a sudden this happened. And see, we didn't get the news firsthand. And so, CNN and all the other places and all the different news outlets were showing the pictures of the people in the Mideast shooting their guns up in the air and celebrating and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it was really hard to kind of formulate an idea of what exactly was going on, because you see all the chaos and everything happening that's being televised, and you see a completely different culture jumping up and down and cheering and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you didn't even know what to believe. You just knew that time stood still for a second and you couldn't really figure out what was going on. It was like, what the heck is happening? And so, like you said, we didn't have that initial first shock that a lot of people did, because we were just working. Like someone came in and told us, like, no, this is seriously happening, because we didn't believe it at first until we kind of saw it for ourselves. So, I don't know. It's really hard to wrap your brain around something,
Right.
As serious as that. Especially, I mean, at that point, I knew I was going to be going to school to become a teacher. And so, of course, I was, studying to teach social studies and all the, science and all that kind of stuff. And like I teach this every year to my students. And I make it a point to tell them, I said, it's really important that you listen to people who have gone through and have witnessed things such as this. I mean, I can teach the Civil War. I can teach the Revolutionary War. I can teach all those different, things that happen in our timeline as a nation, well, and with passion. But unless you've lived through something like we did, like we actually witnessed this event happening, I feel like I teach 9/11 with more passion and more rigor and with more emotion than I do any other thing in my classroom, because we lived through it. You know what I mean?
Right. You have a special understanding about how to tell the story too, which helps tremendously. You have special experiences that lend to that teaching style as well, I would imagine.
It helps. Like, why do you think it means so much when they're all passing away now, but when you have the Holocaust victims come forward and actually tell their story?
Right.
Anybody can tell what's going on, but when you have an actual person that's lived through it and said, hey, wait a minute, like this happened to me, it means a whole lot more when you hear it from someone in that respect. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? So I think that's probably what I teach harder and with more emotion than anything in my classroom when it comes to history and social studies.
Awesome.
Just because I lived through it.
Well, I appreciate you telling your story. I'm going to grab another one here off Facebook. Thank you for calling in. All right. So over here on Facebook, Tommy T, our friend Tommy T, jumped in. I haven't seen him commenting a whole lot lately. Welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you watching us.
Yeah.
He says, I was in the hospital with my sister as she had just had a baby. I woke early that morning in the hospital as I stayed with her there and was going to go get a cup of coffee, but the news came on and I saw the attack then and watched live the second plane crash into the tower. I'm licensed state clergy, so I remember going to the hospital chapel to pray and comfort others. So you kind of, in your own special way, if I'm understanding this right, you were kind of a first responder in a way as far as helping people heal emotionally and as far as helping to be there for support. I didn't think about, nobody looks at the clergy as like a first responder or anything like that.
No,
I know it's not quite the same thing. There's not the danger element involved, but it's necessary. It never crossed my mind that would be something that would be just as much needed as anything else.
It is, because
scenarios.
a lot of people have that religious belief, but this is also one of the reasons why I got into doing or became a first responder was right after 9/11, because like medical reasons I couldn't enlist into the Army. So I went a different route. I joined the Red Cross. I joined their disaster relief organization. Did that for many, many years, did a lot of things, throughout the United States and so forth. So I felt compelled after 9/11 to become a first responder, and that's what I did. And of course you got to bear witness to that during the tornadoes that came through, Mount Juliet. So it was just...
It was like meeting a whole nother Anthony that I hadn't met before. It was cool. I appreciate it. Yeah, because that's honestly the first time I've actually done anything like that. So it was quite the experience. I'd like to get out there and do more at some point.
But it was my way of contributing back because I couldn't join the military. I wanted to better utilize that American spirit that I have in me to still give back to the community. It may not have been in the military way, but it was still, I felt, valuable.
Oh, definitely. All right, so we've got another one. Looks like a pretty long one here. Miss Renee.
And you guys can always go over to Discord and then go to the voice channel, and we can bring you on the show and we can talk about your stories if you like.
Yeah, definitely. These are certainly more more impactful, I think, when it's heard through the voice of the actual person experiencing it, rather than being read through my whiny voice. You know what I'm saying?
Well, not only that too, but it gives us, that's how you build a relationship between us and the audience as well, is having those conversations. So, but yeah, head over to Discord and go into the voice channel and hop on in there, and we love to talk to you about your experience.
This is a new feature. We've not really taken calls before, so this is kind of a new thing we're trying out, and I like it. I'd like to do more of it. And
I don't really know a whole lot of podcasts that do this that I'm aware of.
Yeah, there are. Shows.
I'm sure there are.
There's a bunch of shows and podcasts and stuff that take calls and whatnot. So So she says, I was a single mom working at a hotel. I was working at the front desk when the first tower was hit, and I remember thinking that looked deliberate. Pilots in a problematic situation would have flown into the water to avoid as many casualties as possible. The second tower, I was like, oh no, that's definitely deliberate. I was a single mom living in Virginia, where we have Langley Air Force Base, the Northrop Grumman Shipyard, the Norfolk Naval Base and Camp Peary CIA training site within miles of me. I was panicking inside, and I was watching guests freak out crying. I had to try to I had to try to console them, but and stay focused. People wanted to leave. We had a lot of people there from D.C. They couldn't reach their loved ones, so I had to be the voice of reason, and strength while I was totally freaked inside. My mom had my daughter with her. I called and said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Going to the store." And I said, "Mom, we're under attack. You can't leave the house." And she said, "Honey, that's in D.C. and New York City. We're just fine here." I realized then the power of denial. The night I was asleep and had Kara, my 2-year-old, sleeping with me, a plane flew out of Camp Peary, low and loud. I ripped myself out of sleep, Kara out of bed, and ran into a wall and almost knocked myself out. I was terrified of all planes that seemed low for weeks. I had a gaming friend that worked in the World Trade Center. She had mailed me a letter that morning, postmarked September 11th, 2001. From there, oh my gosh.
Wow, that's insane.
I still have it. He lived. It came to my house covered in dust. So scary and real. I cried for weeks because the empath in me was just overwhelmed. I don't cry often, but every time I saw the news, it killed me. When Kara looked at me and got upset and asked, "Mommy, did bad people make that fire?" I stopped watching the news. She was 2, and I wanted her watching Blue's Clues, being happy. Yeah. Yes, and Steve needs to come back. I miss Steve so much. Joe was a poser.
I will tell you this, and I don't know about the rest of y'all that's watching tonight, but I can remember being glued to my television for days wanting answers. Just wanting to hear the next new developing story and what took place and what they're finding out. And I mean, I can remember 2 weeks of just sucked to that television, and it got to a point to where it was just like, finally when I turned it off and I'd go out either outside to smoke or go to work or whatever, it just almost felt like I needed to be back in front of that television, find out what's really going on here. Like I needed that. Like I want answers. I want answers. We all did, and I surely to God, I'm not the only person that was that way, No,
not at all. Now something in what Becky said kind of reminded me of just the naivety of myself when that day happened.
Yeah.
And I'm, she's talking about, when something hit the World Trade Center, and I was sitting there remembering, you know what, back when that happened, I didn't even know. I was so naive. I didn't even know what the hell the World Trade Center was. Like, I had so much catching up to do. It was ridiculous. So I have seen a number of
shock absorber.
I've seen a number of comments, people not wanting to come on through voice chat because
and that's okay,
because they might cry, and that's perfectly okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Listen, we've got after the show, we're going to be having a private Zoom meeting for group members only. If you're on the Discord, if you're on the Facebook group, or if you're on the Telegram group, I'll be posting the link for that, so you can join us there. If you want to find those links, just I think I've got them in the comments below. Mm-hmm. And if I don't, they're definitely on our website. You can find them there.
And we really tonight, especially, we would love to have you guys on. I mean, I'm being serious. To talk to some of you that we've never talked to before, to get to know you. The Zoom calls are a lot of fun. And I made a post earlier today in the group page talking about getting to know the members. I mean, when me and Daniel talk that way, we don't talk that way just to hear ourselves talk. We legitimately want to, build a strong community of people that we can get to know and understand and build those relationships off of. Yeah. We've made it a point.
One that supports each other,
Yeah.
I mean, and I've seen a lot of that too. Just people just offering just advice and helping each other out. Mm-hmm. And, with, oh goodness, I'm trying to think of her name. I'm having a brain fart. We sent her money.
Talking about Rita.
We sent Rita the money for the headphones, and a number of us chipped in because she had a new job and her headphones broke. And it's like a community that does that for each other. That's awesome. Like,
it's just,
yes, we can talk about politics and all that stuff all day, but good Lord,
we're not going to agree on everything, Daniel. I mean, that. But at the end of the day, we can still be cordial and civil towards one another. We can still be compassionate to people, that may need something.
Right.
We can't give you everything in the world, but, sometimes support or just a simple text message, it makes people feel good.
Yeah.
It lets you know that you're thinking about them. It lets them know that, hey, I'm not alone in this world. There's people that actually care. I like to think, and I'm tooting our horn here, but we really care about the community that support this show, that watch this show.
Now, can you imagine if we can just get a little spark, which I think we already started to build that, if we can get a little spark of that feeling that we all had on September 12th, where everybody came together and everybody was on the same page and on the same team and supporting one another, regardless of, like you said, our color, creed, beliefs, status and our wealth status, everything. And
me, I've always been that way. Even, for as long as I've known Daniel, I've always been a patriotic guy. I've always supported the military, our police officers, our firefighters, our first responders. I mean, these are essential people in our lives that we need. Whether we can agree to disagree sometimes on the outcome of a situation, but we need these people.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even in a free society, we'd have those people. I mean, those are necessary people to have. I mean,
but the good thing,
the type of person that's willing to run into a burning building while everybody else is running out, like that, those people are needed. And
it's interesting because when I was a part of the Hurricane Harvey donation drive that we did, I didn't go down to Texas, with the tractor trailers that we sent down there, and that broke my heart, because I spent a lot of weeks, helping everybody collect donations.
Right.
And, going there first thing in the morning, setting up and staying there throughout the day, and then turn around working, 12 hours that night, turn around and go back to the donation site. So, yeah, it sucked that I didn't get to go down there to meet the people that were helping. But what's cool about this, and something I want people to always take away when you see tragic situations like this happen, is that we don't donate, we don't help other people based off skin color. We don't help people based off their religion. We don't pause and hesitate and say, I'm not going to spend $20 to charity because this might go to a black kid, or this might go to a Hispanic kid, or an Asian kid that you don't like. Because I'm going to tell you right now, that's one of the reasons why I have such faith in humanity, that we can turn things around, is because your first initial thought process is not thinking about the race, creed, or the religion of a child or an individual.
No, sir.
It comes straight from the heart. And that's when deep down that humanity is alive and well, and it cares for one another. It's why I do what I do outside of the show and outside of my job. Is because when you see it firsthand, it gives you hope. It inspires you to want to continue doing these things. And, when people read the stories or things that I've been a part of, it's to educate. Not only is it to educate, but it's also to get people to understand and realize, you have to lead by example. If it's just one of those situations where, over time, you hope that you have some kind of significant impact in your community. And sometimes it takes a couple of years, sometimes it takes 20 years. But you hope that it spills over into your community and that others kind of follow suit, and they see what you're doing, and they provide that humanitarian effort or relief, because it's straight from the heart. So yeah, and that's something I hope that people can take away from what I'm telling them, is that when we donate, when we volunteer, we don't do it off the base of the color of someone's skin or religion. When I go and I'm waist deep in a flood, or I'm in Gatlinburg and it's pouring down rain, and I'm offloading pull behind trailers for victims during the wildfires, I'm not thinking about this during Hurricane Harvey when I'm running off 2 hours of sleep, and and I'm trying to do what I can to help people. I wish I could meet everybody I helped, but at the end of the day, I know it's appreciated. Yeah. I know it is, and that's what gives me the driving force to do this. And and I kind of stepped out of it a year before Mount Juliet was hit with the tornadoes, and it was just like, okay, I've done my 20 years in community service. Luckily, I told myself this. I even told my own mom, I was like, in 20 years, I've never had to help my own hometown. And then it was the very next year,
Right.
Mount Juliet got slammed with one of the worst tornadoes
So
ever.
the tornado was your fault. Is that what you're saying? you wished it upon
But
us?
you know what? Even when I got out of disaster relief,
Yeah.
like even if it wasn't, I mean, even if it wasn't my hometown, say if it was, the city next to it, Lebanon or wherever,
Right.
I've always been compelled to do it. So it's not like, I see it happens, like somebody else will take care of it.
Here we go again. Right?
I'm
Nothing
like
that. Yeah.
you cut, it's in your blood, man. So
All right. Carrie, just to be clear, I seen. She said, "I think I joined correctly." Yes, I saw your notification come up. You are in the Unframed Minds groups, and that link will be coming out as soon as we're done with the show. I've already got them locked and loaded, ready to go.
yeah,
If you want to get a head start, make sure you have Zoom installed on your phone.
that's all you got to do.
That's
We'd
it.
love to talk to you guys. Really
So
would.
I want to read this comment here. Jason says, "That's why I'm so pissed off at today's culture, who were too young to remember 9/11." Gosh, is there people really alive that are too young to remember? How old do
Yeah.
you feel right now?
Dude, I'll be 40 in March. So
Just thinking about it, like my oldest was born in 2001, in October. Like, she's not even old enough to have been alive. Like the month afterwards, she was born.
I love hearing, my daughter. I'm not gonna say her name, but my daughter talk about,
Yeah.
9/11. It's interesting.
So, he says, how can they bash our law enforcement and first responders, shout in their faces, and be blatantly disrespectful? I could answer that, but today's not the show for that.
No.
We as a country always seem to pull together during a tragedy, and it's short-lived and later forgotten. This is why you don't tear down monuments. You need them to remember how far you've come. You can't know where you are going unless you know where you've been.
Yeah. Go up just a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
I think Tommy had something to say.
Yeah, Tommy. Tommy says, "Bless your brothers, love your show and what you do. The compassion is genuinely felt. I'm blessed to be a part and come to know of you. Thanks to Hagatha." I think a number of our audience is from Hagatha, yes.
Yeah.
Much love and respect to you. I appreciate that, man. That
was
means
really
a lot.
nice. Yeah.
It
Thank
means
you
a
for
lot.
that.
I love to hear that. That's part of what we do the show for.
It knows that
Just
we're doing something right.
Just so people can pat us on the back. I just do it for the pats on the back. That's
Well,
all.
we don't always talk politics or social issues.
Well,
I mean,
I did have I can't remember. I think it was my mom I was talking to. She was talking about what we talk about. And I was like, well, we're not really a political show. I mean,
no.
because like when it comes down to the minutiae of politics, like I ain't got the foggiest idea what's going on. Like we do.
It's the human element.
We
to
do
it.
we do touch on politics.
Right.
Kind of around the back door. We give politics its a little reach around, but beyond that.
Little dangly.
Yeah. Just politics gets its little reach around every now and again, but
Yeah.
really the show is about relationships, social issues, bold ideas, and LOLs. Those are our categories. We try to keep everything in, and the majority of it happens to be social issues.
But our
And
relationships are also tied in with social issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it is. All of those things kind of tie together.
They intertwine each other. They really do.
And politics does tend to be part of that. Insofar as it's such a part of our culture right now, is everybody is all of a sudden they're political experts, and it drives me nuts, man. Like, I wish 18-year-olds would go back to just being. What's funny is I was wishing when I first started getting into politics, like, man, I wish more people would pay attention to what's going on and really get into politics and get into what's going on in the world. It's like. But now that I'm seeing what the results of that is, I kind of wish I could take that wish back. It's like, y'all just go back to being kind of ignorant teenagers for a little while and just go spin your records and do what you do and, have sex in places you're not supposed to have sex in and do drugs in places you're not supposed to do your drugs and just shut up about all the politics and let the adults do the thinking,
I was never big into politics ever. And I think what drives me to do this show is the human element in which we treat one another.
Yeah.
And what it does to the human population. And whether it's to unify or divide us, it intrigues me. It really does.
Jason likes reach arounds. Well, lucky for you, you can join us over on our Pornhub channel, and we'll be giving reach arounds to fellow group members. Now, in order to get that reach around, you're going to have to go over to our Subscribe Star and subscribe at the $250 a month level.
Oh shit! Pimp me out, baby.
Would you?
You can pimp me out for $250 a month.
$250
I
a
will
month.
take it up the ass.
Would you give reach arounds?
Oh shit! I'll take it up the ass.
Oh,
homie.
you take it up. We will take it up the ass for $250 a month. All right, so I think it's been I think that's a good note to wrap up on. If you guys like the show, do us a favor, share the show. You know, that speech that I had earlier, we're gonna clip that up, and I'm probably gonna re-record it because I screwed up at the end. But I want it to be a nice standalone clip because I think it says a lot of what's on our minds, and it kind of wraps it up in nice little packaging. And I hope you guys share that as well as this episode, and just let people know about the show. And you know, I look forward to hearing from you. So stay tuned for just a few minutes. We're gonna close Zoom this call out. And we're going to start the Zoom call. So
we'll see you on the other side.
All right.